Sometimes I saw a player and I knew immediately that he would be successful. How? More on this shortly. The second week of our tour to Japan took us to the greater Kobe area. This major Japanese city with a population of 1.5 million is located on Japan's largest island, Honshu, which is also known as the Heartland. The journey by bus from Matsuyama took just under 4 hours and showed us the beauty of nature in Japan. The hotel was located a little outside of Kobe, but it was right next to a shopping center with many restaurants, which made the location attractive again. The club was about 30 minutes away from the hotel, depending on traffic, and a bus shuttle was again provided by the tournament. The temperature this week here in Kobe was a little cooler, and it was certainly an advantage that we were playing indoors. The construction and dimensions of the building were impressive. The entire facility with infrastructure, 7 courts and a large center court is located under one roof in a huge hall. Heating this building is therefore difficult, which is why the temperature was always quite cool. We played on hard courts again, and the conditions were not slow this week either. There was also a noticeable difference between the courts on which the matches were played and some of the practice courts. The match courts were a little slower and therefore more comfortable for us. Once again, the preparation went according to plan. As we arrived already on Friday, we were able to do enough sessions on the courts. Mate Dodik's shoulder problems were under control during preparations. We had to adapt the technique for the second serve as the pain was still there on the kick movement. Mate was drawn in the first round against Japan's Nakagawa, who entered the main draw with a wildcard. Yuri Rodionov also adapted well to the conditions. He played against the qualifier in the first round, and it was therefore clear that he would only have his first match on Tuesday. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's a fitting Japanese expression that also applies to our sport. In order to get as close to perfection as possible, many repetitions and attempts are simply necessary. And these repetitions should be performed with maximum effort. I worked with Ivo Karlovic many years ago now. One day before the start of the main draw at the tournament in Zagreb, we came to the courts in the hall early in the morning, around 7:30 a.m., to train. At this time in the early morning, it was still quiet except for one court. I watched briefly as I walked past and suddenly stopped to take a closer look. A player I had never seen before was hitting the balls and moving with an intensity that was extraordinary. This player got my interest, and I asked Karlovic if he knew this player. He denied. It left me no peace, and I wanted to know who this player was. I read the name on the schedule for the practice courts. Then I searched for this name in the draw and saw that this player had already lost in the qualification for this future. Nevertheless, I said to Karlovic that this player would soon make his way if he always trained like this. And it turned out to be true. This tournament took place in January, and by the end of the year, this player was already top 100 as far as I can remember. His name is Nikolai Davydenko. What was so special for me? Apart from the intensity, it was the fire in his eyes and in his actions. You could feel the hunger for success on his own initiative, and that made it obvious to me that this player will go very far. Mate Dodic already played his first round against Japan's Nakagawa on Monday. The question of whether his shoulder would withstand the stress of the match was answered in the positive. On the second serve, the handicap was recognizable, but Mate found a way to cope with it during the match. He won the even match in 3 sets, and the relief was huge. I only had doubts as to whether the shoulder would be able to withstand the pressure in the next match. Yuri Rodionov played the Japanese qualifier Satamoto in the first round. Last year on his Japan tour, Yuri lost to this very player. This time he got his revenge. Yuri won convincingly in 2 sets with a solid performance. So Yuri's start into the tournament also went well. In the second round, Yuri played against the number 1 seed Bu from China. Bu has played very well in recent weeks, which made it all the more pleasing for Yuri to win in 2 sets. The match was very intense and Yuri was very present in the important situations, so the victory was well deserved. Mate Dodic played in the second round against the number 2 seed Daniel. Unfortunately, there wasn't much to be gained for Mate in this match and he lost in 2 sets. The reasons were obvious and Mate understands that some elements need to be improved in the upcoming preseason. The problems with his shoulder were at least under control this week. Shima Pukuru was Yuri's opponent in the quarterfinals, and it was a tough, intense and above all exciting match. In the end, Yuri won 7-6 in the third set. He showed character in the tiebreak of the third set, so this victory was well deserved. I will report on the outcome of this tournament in the next video. Thank you for your interest and see you in the next video.